Why did Japan surrender in World War II? There are so many speculations which have come about, and also many people saying there are so many different reasons why Japan surrendered. And one of the reasons which people say that Japan surrendered in the World War II is that Japan was hit by the atomic bomb. And also other people say that Japan was able to surrender because of the Soviet Union, which was advancing on them. And they had feared a lot because the Soviet Union was called the Red Army, and the Red Army would inflict a lot of number of casualties more than the atomic bomb. So there are so many reasons why Japan had to surrender, and also some of them have been debated and what was the main reason why Japan had to surrender. So Japan was a country, and also it was a way where were governed by a monarch, and this monarch was able to, he was under, although he was a monarch, he wasn't able to give out the rules and also the type of rules which will be made in the World War II. There were some group of six people which were the head of the country, and this group of six people were the people which were left to make decisions of regarding the country and also the military expenditure and also the military things which will be used. So although the monarch had the power and also had the power to stop the World War II from Japan taking part of it, the other members of the council were the ones which were not accepting and didn't want to give that power and also surrender. So US had to look for other reasons to make Japan surrender, and also they had to look for allies which would help them in making Japan surrender. And also one of the allies was the Soviet Union, and also US being a friend of England, they had to team up and also come together with a plan which will make the Soviet Union, the Japan surrender, because Japan they were very hard, and also they were so tough on them, and also Japan were people which were considered people which they didn't give up, and no matter what number of people in the battlefield, they will still continue pressing as long as they just continue fighting. One of the things, and also a quote which was made by the Japanese, is that they don't care if they they win the war or just lose the war. Their main agenda is to inflict pain on the enemy's side. So Japan's main agenda and also goal was just inflicting pain and making the other enemy side have more casualties. Their main agenda of the war was just not winning. Their strategy was just to inflict pain so that they can get better deals when they surrender, and also get better the levy of them being able to be respected when they are being planned, and also the war has ended for them to be allocated something, because the number of casualties which they have inflicted, the respect will still be on them. So this was a plan for Japan, and also it was very unreasonable for you to be able to fight with somebody which his aim is not to win the war but just inflict pain. So the US had to look for a second way and also a second alternative which will be able to make Japan lose the war and also make them surrender the war early in the morning in 1945. So they also, US didn't want to inflict so much pain due to their army, because a lot of number of casualties were dying in the army of US, and US was looking for a way where the people will be minimal people which will die, and also the World War II will end as soon as possible in the shortest time possible. And one of the things which it was released where the president of US wrote a letter to his wife and told the wife that the World War II will end as soon as possible in less than 1 year, because we have found a new weapon which is a destructive weapon, which was, he was talking about the atomic bomb. And the atomic bomb was invented in July over there before even August, because it was thrown in August, and in July it is when it was being done its first test in Mexico, where the test exceeded the expectations of people, and the people were very shocked to see that the weapon was working very well. So what the US did was to tell the president of Soviet Union in Russia and told him that he has a particular weapon which is which can cause mass destructive to a lot of number of people. So Stalin gave him an idea that he should use that particular weapon in Japan. So this was an idea for US, that this weapon, they can be able to use it in Japan so that they can stop this amount of casualties and deaths to their own troops and to also the other members of the world, so that they can be at peace. So many people argue that the reason is one of the reason why Japan had to surrender is because also the USSR had their troops also wanting to invade Japan, and the number of troops which the USSR had aligned to invade Japan was around 1.5 million, and this Japan had calculated that this amount of type of people invading the Japan territory, it will be very casual and it will be very catastrophic. So what they had to also surrender because of this. So there are so many speculations. One of the group of people say that it was because of the Soviet Union being able to try to invade Japan, and the other type of people say that it is because of the atomic bomb which was thrown in Japan. But nobody knows what it is. But the one which has the heavier and also the most reasons is because of the atomic bomb, which I'll be sharing one of the reasons in this video. So Japan, and also they had talks with the president of US. They wanted to have some negotiations, and one of the things, the Japan didn't want to have peace. They just wanted to continue on the war. So the negotiations of Japan between US and Japan was very hard. And one of the people which also was wanting this peace was the Emperor of Japan. But the Emperor of Japan didn't get any good support from his members of 6 members of council in Japan. So this was a very hard trouble for him to be able to negotiate with the US. So one of the things which the US did, they looked at their map and they decided to see what type of casualties will be inflicted if they are able to invade Japan, and see the number of people and also the US troops will be able to die in the invasion of Japan. After being able to calculate the number of people which will die in Japan if they be able to invade Japan, they saw that the number of people which they will die in Japan was a catastrophic number of people, which was around 650,000 casualties will die in Japan. And this was double the number which had already died in Europe. So this was not a favorable option. This particular option, they had to put it as a plan B, just in case anything happens. This is the route which they'll be able to take. The first plan was to look for an alternative method which will be very easy for them to be able to end this war at the easiest time possible, and also the easiest option which they can have. And the option was the atomic bomb. As they were thinking, the president of US got good news on July that the atomic bomb is working, and has passed beyond the expectations. And this was a thing for them to be able to test it in Japan and also inflict deaths on Japan, so that they can lead the Japan to surrender. And one of the things which they had done with the USSR, they had agreed with the USSR that they will be able to sign a treaty with them. If just anything happens, the USSR will be able to be their backup plan, where they will be able to invade Japan in 15th August. So USSR had already signed all of this, which was headed by Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin had signed this particular treaty and said when it reaches 15th August, he will be able to invade Japan and be able to inflict Japan. And one of the things which the US promised the USSR, if he is able to invade Japan, he'll be able to get territories in Japan and also in China. So this was a win for USSR. So before this date was hard to reach, the US were looking for alternative ways which they can be able to prevent this day of Soviet Union being able to invade Japan. And one of the reasons why people say that the USA drew the bomb in Japan is not because of their deaths in the particular war, or to prevent the war from happening. It was, people say it was to prevent the Soviet Union from being able to invade Japan, because if they were able to invade Japan, the Soviet Union will be able to gain territories in Japan, and they will be able to also to gain influence in Asia continent, and also able to gain influence in China. So the US had to rush all these ways, and also their methods which they'll be able to use before the date of 15th August. Because if that date reaches, the Soviet Union will be able to advance in Japan, and this will be a problem for USA, because this wasn't end of the World War II. It was the beginning of the Cold War between Russia and also the US. This is when the Cold War started, because US had seen that if Russia is able to invade Japan and they are able to get this particular territory, they will have advanced and also advantages over the US. So US had to think fast and look for method which will help them stop this particular war in Japan. And one of that reason was the atomic bomb. So what they remember, the date of Soviet Union being able to invade Japan was in 15th August. So what the US did on 6th August, they threw the atomic bomb in Hiroshima. And after throwing the atomic bomb in Hiroshima, the casualties of that bomb was around 74,000, and later on the other casualties which later on died in that day was around 150 or 50,000 over there. So, and also you remember the radius of the atomic bomb was, if you are in the distance of 1 kilometer, you have no chance of surviving. You turn into vaporized, you are vaporized because you are burnt to death. And if you are in a radius of more than 1 kilometer, which is also in a radius of 3 kilometers, you're able to be infected by that shock wave and also heat. And this will also lead you to die also. But if you're in a radius of one kilometer, you just die instantly. There's no negotiation. You just die instantly. And this was also a great casualty for them. And also that bomb which was thrown, it was reaching 600 meters. You can just imagine 600 meters is 3/4 of the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, which is around 850 meters, 850 meters to 820 meters over there. So you can just imagine what the type of bomb was that, which had to rise above 600 meters. The cloud of that bomb was 600 meters. So you can just imagine this was a devastating bomb for them. So the first bomb was thrown in Hiroshima, but the Japanese weren't showing any sign of giving up or surrendering. They just continued their way and also their day routine just like it was normal. So that's when US now decided to throw their second bomb. And remember, the Soviet Union, seeing that the US are able to throw this particular atomic bomb, and also saw the casualties which were made by the US, the date of 15th, now the Soviet Union changed that date and decided to invade Japan on 9th of August. So on 9th of August, then USA saw that Russia is invading Japan on 9th of August. That's when now USA decided to throw the second bomb in Nagasaki, which killed around 54,000 over there. And also after that was the instant death of 54,000. Later on, they killed around, there are more than 20,000 to 30,000 people died after the second wave, which was killing other people around that radius. So after being able to throw the second bomb, it's when now the hard fact reacted into the Japanese minds. And now Japanese now started knowing that the casualties were so many and they will not be able to relate with this particular bomb. And the Japanese were fearing that this bomb will be thrown in Tokyo. Although this wasn't in the mind of the USA, this was even not close to the mind of the USA, but the Japanese were afraid that this bomb will be thrown in Tokyo. For the USA, this was the last bomb which they will be able to throw. If the Japanese are not able to surrender, that's now another problem. But this is the last bomb which they will be able to draw in Nagasaki. That's when now Japan, thinking that USA will be able to draw in Tokyo another bomb, now they decided to surrender. And that's now when they were able to have a treaty where they were able to sit down with the USA, and the Emperor of Japan now decided to call USA for peace talks. And one of the things he asked USA that if you are unable to surrender, which this surrendering was around, it was around 17th of August, which the World War II ended in September 2nd over there, 1945. The president, the Emperor of Japan now decided to sit with USA and try to convince them that if he surrenders, he will be able to remain and also attain his power of the emperor, and this power will be able to be, he will still continue governing the people of Japan. But USA declined and told him that the people of Japan are going to decide on what they want and also what type of power they want to be led on. So this was the one of the reasons why the USA threw the bomb in Nagasaki, and this is what some of the reasons which led to Japan surrendering. And now you can see that US also saw that if the Soviet Union is able to invade Japan, there will be a lot of advantage for them because they will be controlling a lot of parts of the Asian side, which is China and also Japan, and this will also inflict a lot of casualties for the US, and it will weigh the US down. So that's the story of World War II and why the Japanese were able to surrender in this particular war and the reasons which they surrendered. And also these are the same, some of the things which some of the people say that the reason which Japan surrendered is because of the invasion of which was happening of the Soviet Union, and some of the people say it is also because of the bomb which was thrown by the USA. But the bomb of USA looks to be so much convincing that the invasion of the Soviet Union, because at that time the USA had already inflicted a lot of pain. Although the bombs which the atomic bomb was also a result by USA, was a result by the USA. There were other bombs which were thrown by USA which had already killed around 84,000 people already. And 84,000 were the small bombs killing. And also they said that one atomic bomb was equivalent to 121 bombs which were being thrown, the mini bombs which were being thrown by USA. So just one atomic bomb were equivalent to the 121 bombs, and these bombs had already killed 84,000 people. So Japan had a reason just to surrender because this war was weighing down on them, and the number of casualties were weighing also down on them, and most of people were being killed. So the other reason which we can never know or we don't know is why USA decided to throw the bomb before 15th of August when the Soviet Union before the Soviet Union was to invade Japan. Many people say it is because of the advantages and also the disadvantages. And I just leave it up to you. Is it because of the Cold War? Is it because this is when the Cold War started between Russia and also USA? So that's up to you. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to this channel and watch out for more videos and also content like this. And I say thank you till we meet next time.